What's up, guys? It's Jasmine, and we are here for another episode of Inside Moves. I am joined by former athlete, entrepreneur, founder, and CEO of Round21, Jasmine Maietta. Hi, Jasmine. Thank you for
Jasmine.
Jasmine, we're going to have a great day.
We are.
Thank you for being on the next episode of Inside Moves. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day in New York City.
Yeah. What do you have going on in New York?
Well, we're here for the U.S. Open and celebrating all the vibes beyond the match with some strategic partners and building, our newest vertical sport and really enjoying this incredible culture around tennis that Round21 had never been a part of.
No, yeah, that's amazing. No, yeah, U.S. Open, that was one of the things I still haven't been able to go to yet, but I'm like, that is definitely on my bucket list for living in New York and being in New York. I feel like U.S. Open is such like a big cultural moment for so many things. And so that's really cool that you're here and that your company's a part of it and everything.
It's been a dream.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, let's start early on. Jasmine. Who are you? Where are you from? No, I'm just kidding. So you're originally from Oklahoma, born and raised there?
Yes.
Nice, amazing. And obviously you grew up playing basketball. So tell me a little bit about where that journey started for you.
Yeah, so somebody put a basketball in my hand. I think it was my brother in the 4th grade. I'll never forget that. And in small town Oklahoma, you play softball, basketball, and if you're a guy, football. And so I took up both softball and basketball. And by the 10th grade, I was all in on hoops, and it was a big piece of my identity and knew I wanted to continue playing. And, being from small town Oklahoma, you look at the state schools, but then my brother was like, you got to look at these other ones. So I went to a small Division III school in Maine and continued to play, and then played in Spain, and decided that this was going to be my kind of life path.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's so cool. What was it like playing in Spain?
So this was 1998, 99. The W had just, been formed. And so women's basketball was certainly something that people were paying attention to. In Spain, the club culture of sports was really an important part of the local kind of village that we were a part of outside of Madrid. And there was a sense of community around the game, which I really appreciated, but I knew that my career was kind of coming to an end, and I used it really to understand the culture and observe different ways of life. And then when I came back, I took advantage of coaching opportunities and, continued to feel close to the game that way.
Nice. Earlier, you said that, being a part of basketball and sports really shaped your identity. What do you mean by that? What really shaped you into who you are today from sports?
Yeah, so I think for me, it was being a part of something bigger than myself and feeling like tangibly my network of friends was all around the game, and being a part of the wins and losses and kind of the emotional highs and lows with the same group of people is almost entirely felt as part of your family. And then if you're lucky enough to play a team sport, that feeling of family with the highs and lows continues. So I really appreciated that. And then the second piece was, I think, being a part of something that not many people can be. So that's a pride point. And I think we all have pride points in our life. But for me to be a part of a basketball team or a winning season or my own, records felt like it was a piece of who I was that was distinct, and it was a conversation starter once I, retired. And that was something that I always took care of, I guess, particularly when I did play overseas. I knew, even if I play one season, no one's ever going to be able to take this away from me. I was really proud of that, and my parents were too, and that sticks with you.
Yeah, I love that. No, I love you mentioning like that sense of community. I know for me growing up playing sports, that was my friends. That's how I made friends and girlfriends. And so once basketball was over for me after college, it was like coming to New York and trying to understand what that sense of community is. Once basketball stopped for you, how did you continue to find that sense of community?
So when basketball stopped for me formally, I still played pickup because I didn't know how. I did not know how to make friends outside of the game. So thank goodness people still play afterwards. So then it became not just the game and like 5-on-5 or whatever, but like strength and conditioning and staying in the gym and finding friends that way when I did enter the corporate world. Like, hey, do you want to work out at 6:30? I'll meet you at the gym. And I knew it was the way I was making friends. Like, I consciously was like, I'm going to work out with those people because that's how I'm going to make community.
It was something to connect with. Yeah, that sense of moving your body, having that routine. Yeah, no, I was the exact same way. Like, once I found the women collectives that I'm part of in New York, Hoop York City and Buckets and Brunch, it was like instant friends, connections, because we all came from that same mindset and that same lifestyle of growing up and knowing that, sport and basketball was our identity. So that's cool that you were able to kind of quickly get that sense of like, okay, this is how I can continue to make community just by, being active, moving my body and things like that. So that's amazing. You mentioned you coached. Where did you coach at?
So when I came back from Spain, I coached at a small high school in Dallas, Texas. I kind of think to get out of Oklahoma, you kind of have to go by way of Dallas. Yeah. It's kind of a funny thing. And it was high school PE. Nice. I was a PE teacher. Okay. And then I was the high school basketball coach, volleyball coach, softball coach, because that's the way the kind of year was broken up. And I knew nothing about volleyball, so our strategy was keep the ball off the ground, and it worked. Like, we won our little division, which was fun. That's right. Division champs. But it was when I was at Lake Hill Prep School in Dallas that I recognized, like, I actually think I do want to coach. So I went on to coach then as a grad assistant at Trinity College. And when I went there, I went to the AD's office and I said, you don't have a strength and conditioning program. I'm going to be the GA for the basketball and soccer team. I'd love to start the strength and conditioning program. And I think he thought I was like coming in to suggest like a bunch more money, et cetera. And I was like, I'll do it just to be able to do it. And it was very formative for me because there was no playbook. All 27 teams, from football to swimming. I was the strength and conditioning coach, and it was my own. That was a new identity, and I had created the identity at Trinity College for strength and conditioning, which was just such a great playground to make there was no one watching my mistakes or how I was building the programs or dividing the time. And so it was that was my first entrepreneurial effort, and I didn't even realize it. Okay, amazing. That's so cool. So from there, you went to, I guess, kind of going into the corporate side of things. I actually did by way of that GA experience. I went to this startup called CATS, Competitive Athlete Training Zone. They were trying to build franchise-based strength and conditioning facilities, and I went to their flagship facility and was the general manager as well as a strength and conditioning coach. Which again was very formative. I was responsible for all the traffic to the facility as the GM. So back then it was building flyers for Starbucks or creating a bit of a network with the coaches. And I stayed there 4 years, actually. And that was where I felt kind of the business side, because GM has that level of expectation. But I was also still coaching, so it gave me a little bit of a crutch to feel confident. And once I had done that for 4 years, I felt like I kind of understand. I would say CATS was where I felt like a practical MBA a little bit. And I started interviewing for jobs and got a ton of rejections because I had never really worked in corporate. Ton of rejections. Like, that's like a year of rejection. Little downfall of corporate. It's like, if you on your resume, if you don't have certain names of experience, even though you have the day-to-day experience, they really won't give you a shot. So who ended up giving you the shot? Marcus Wilson. So I came into Reebok 3 times and I kept interviewing with different teams, and the HR lead kept telling me, we think you could help us, but we don't know where to put you because you've never worked in corporate. And Marcus was on the brand strategy team right when Adidas had acquired Reebok, and he brought me in, and on the first week, that Wednesday, he told me he was leaving, which I give him, a hard time for even today. But he basically was like, it's brand strategy. All we need to understand is how Reebok is going to connect to the consumer and Adidas is going to connect to the consumer. You have actually on the team been the only one with the consumer for the past 10 years. Just consumer insights, like help us understand where to ask. That's amazing. I love that. Well, shout out to Marcus went on to found Noble, the brand, the footwear brand. That's amazing. Shout out to Marcus. Thank you, Marcus. Giving Jasmine a chance. We love that. And then from there, where did you kind of see your career going? So I was at Reebok for a couple of years, and I really then felt like, okay, I can do this. And I understood that my identity had been in sports and was concerned a little bit that, was that because that's what I was fueled by and really good at, or was I scared to go into something else? And affectionately, Hasbro is called Reebok South because it's only like 35 minutes from Reebok, and a lot of people work at Hasbro or Reebok. And I got the opportunity to go from Reebok to Hasbro, both from a career trajectory perspective into a director role and into a global role leading all of games marketing for
That's
Hasbro.
amazing. Yeah.
And right in 2007, the iPhone came out. So Hasbro was having a bit of an identity crisis on the games business because everybody was playing digital games, not board games.
Yeah.
And I knew that was a really challenging opportunity and was very, very glad that I took that because it immediately immersed me in digital and what that would mean for consumer behavior. It was definitely a shock to all of the things I mean, no one was working out before work at Hasbro. It was a totally different culture than Reebok. Making friends was very different. It was a manufacturing culture, which was different than Reebok, which is a marketing culture. And I spent 4 years there, which was like the complete like change management of digital from analog to analog and digital games. And that impacted how I did things in the future. I mean, forever, for how digital is now such a persistent part of our life.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely understand that. I work in corporate, like the marketing side, creative agency, and I remember how, you know, during the pandemic, how things had to shift, how we all had to, you know, go online, and just brands at a whole had to understand, how do I reach that consumer from in their home, because we can't go anywhere. So for you to see that so early on and really be able to like instantly know that things needed to change on such a huge scale, that's very, very impressive.
Well, I was one of the reluctant people to ever create a Facebook account in like 2000 and I think 5 or 6 or something. So I wouldn't say that I was like some savant who knew everything, but definitely when the iPhone came out and things like Cityville and Farmville and these Zynga games were kind of taking over everybody's time, I knew that something was changing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, from the stance of you being in a director's role, essentially, and having to, you know, lead a team and make them understand, like, hey, things are changing, so we have to, you know, start understanding our strategy and understanding how we need to make those next steps so that we can continue to push, you know, our brand forward, things like that.
And do it alongside culture changing, not after.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's amazing. Well, shout out to you for being the one in charge for when they needed to push things forward. Let's talk about going from, you know, working in corporate to then just full out taking this chance on being an entrepreneur. What was that transition like?
Yeah, so from Hasbro, I went to Under Armour, and at Under Armour, I was there 6 years leading the biggest category and the fastest growing, so men's training and running. And that was where, you know, consumer insights is prioritized and you're always listening. And every quarter, I would talk to kids, particularly like 16 to 18 years old. They cared less and less about performance and more about basically their brand. And I witnessed that. I literally was watching, that's 24 quarters of performance was expected. It's not like they didn't want sweat wicking stuff, but they cared more about what it said about them, how it looked, who else is wearing it, where will it be sold.
Early influencer age.
Yeah, and they knew they were influential as well. And that's when I felt like, wow, the sports industry, both the brands like Adidas and Nike and Under Armour and teams, leagues, all the power really rested with them. But then the people, they want the power. They could literally go to Kohl's, a mass market retailer, and buy something and put it with a Louis Vuitton something else, and that's their identity. And I was like literally hearing them say that.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there was a different way. There's just an alternative way in sports to put the power in the hands of the people. But Peloton called, so I didn't jump right after Under Armour. And it was that sense of digital community and connectivity beyond, you know, the physical that Peloton represented. So I did take that role. But when the pandemic hit, I immediately knew everyone's starting a new company. Everyone, from Johnson & Johnson to Nike to your point, like everybody was starting a new company. And I thought, if I'm going to do it, I should go now.
Do it now, yeah.
And that was a forcing factor, but it also gave me so much space because everyone was starting a new company. There wasn't this rat race to like figure it out because everyone was trying to figure it out. And I took that core insight of the identity of the people in formation with the thing they love being a new way to express fandom. And new ways to express fandom in 2020 included digital identity. To your point, we were all thinking about how we were going to connect through screens. And this new emerging system of identity and ownership called NFTs was kind of taking off. And I thought, well, how does a startup today build in a way that doesn't have any comparison to anything that's ever existed? And I thought, this digital landscape is brand new, so why don't we start with digital identity and think about how that impacts physical form? And Round21 was going to blend art and sport digitally and provide people access to things in the physical form by creating that ownership. And that was the first kind of blueprint for what Round21 was. Not the blueprint today, but definitely the first blueprint.
Nice. Amazing. What was it like taking that step to kind of really take that chance on yourself? Especially during the time like the pandemic when the unknown was all we knew. Yeah,
it was mentally easy, physically hard. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm starting my own thing. Everyone was like, because everyone was doing Zoom calls back then. Like the strangest culture.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to say, I'm starting this company and it's about art and sport, and we're going to bring things to life in a way that's never been done before. But physically, it was hard. I did not realize I am CEO, fun to say that, but also head of IT, head of finance, and I did want to do it right, but I had no background setting up QuickBooks or setting up how do you do a @Round21 email with Gmail?
Yeah.
How do you not get blocked on spam? I remember spending 6 months trying to figure out how to not get in people's junk folders.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because new email domains don't have any verification.
Yeah.
So that functionally was hard, but what a blessing because we had the time. Like back then, people were cutting their own hair because you can't go to the barber. I mean, it was really freedom to explore and get the foundation.
See what works, what doesn't work. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What made you pick the name Round21?
So I knew as a first-time founder, I really didn't have control over where the company would go. I just knew it. And so I didn't want a name that was super descriptive in case it changed. And you think of names like Amazon, which has nothing to do with the river, or Yahoo, which didn't even have meaning before it was started, or Google. And so Round21 was an embodiment of the values I wanted Round21 to be. Round is community, circle, and certainly the two is partnership. We famously at Round21 say, without you, there is no us. We really believe partnership is critical to being of the culture and of the times. But one is standing for individuality and ownership and a point of view that this is my own, which is for the people to feel like when they are part of Round21, they don't have to conform to someone else's identity. They can be who they are. So Round21 is that embodiment of the values, and I knew whatever we sell one day, we would never let go of those values.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. I love that early on you were able to take that time and that space to really hone in on what your foundation would be. And I still feel like from just my research on you and knowing what that was, you still very much embody that today. Instantly meeting you, I'm like, okay, yeah, she is who she is. Her brand is her brand is. The product, the people that you work with, the artists and the athletes that you all represent and work with, it really does stay true to that foundation. And so it's like a blessing in disguise that the pandemic happened. It allowed you and a lot of other people to really sit down and take a second, what do I want? What do I want my identity to be? What do I want my next steps in life to be? So that's really, really cool.
Thank you.
Let's talk about how did Round21 get started? What was that process? Because I know you were on Shark Tank. I know you really pushed to have investors. I know JDS was an investor, and so that's really cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Round21, actually the name was 2018, so that's kind of funny. I'm going to start a company, Round21, who knows what it'll be. But what we wanted to do was create a collaboration company. That was kind of the idea. That's why the two is so important. And the things that bring us together are sports, and we certainly wanted this sense of identity or individuality to be a part of it. So I tried to build the beginning of Round 21 in a space no one had ever owned, so that origin could be ours and pure. And I looked at something in sports that most people don't recognize because they're not in that space, that was completely unbranded, but a big part of the culture. And it's ping pong. So most people don't know because they don't spend a lot of time in locker rooms like we do, you know, being in sports. But a ping pong table is in most NBA locker rooms, most NHL locker rooms, FIFA, like when you go and play on the road, there's a ping pong table because players like to play. It was in the bubble, like a whole the bubble season. And so ping pong is a cultural glue in sports, but completely unbranded.
Yeah.
So Round 21 in our origin phase partnered with independent artists to reimagine the ping pong paddle and table as self-expression.
Wow,
so that when the players would go up to the table and pick their paddle, they would be picking something that represented them. And the NBA was our first order for the bubble season.
Amazing.
Another shout out, Scott O'Neill responded to a cold LinkedIn, and he put me in touch with Kelly Flato, and Kelly Flato at the NBA was like, we're gonna have paddles and tables, we might as well make it branded. And they wanted the community at the time to talk about social justice. So the 3 artists we partnered with brought the story of social justice to life through their lens on the ping pong paddles. And that led to a Kickstarter all around ping pong and like funding more connectivity in this increasingly isolated era, which was 2020. And the Kickstarter helped get us some funding. Those early believers are still a big piece of at least my memory, which is an important phase of our growth. But it was 2021, February, where Round 21 won the Super Bowl pitch competition that the NFLPA puts on that got us into proper licensing with the PA. And that was actually quickly followed by the U.S. Women's Soccer Team Players Association license and the WNBA Players Association license, which was very important to me to be able to represent the player's voice in new forms and formats. We didn't go into ping pong, we immediately went into apparel and the artifact of the game, which was the basketball or the soccer ball. Those were designed to be collectibles for this generation of fans who wanted to go beyond the trading card.
Nice, amazing. That's really cool. You mentioned you went into like apparel, but then still keeping that collectibles. What kind of made you figure out what type of products you wanted to have within the Round 21
ecosystem?
Business?
Yeah, so when we started with ping pong, it was kind of that disruptive position. I always knew that wasn't going to be the future, but I really knew it once we were in market. There were just, the demand wasn't a business, but the inflatables actually were. So this is going back to tapping into communities where using the thing that you play with as a reflection of who you are tapped into adults who used to play, but not really being able to represent that in their life or their lifestyle. But they would grab a Round 21 basketball that had a spirit of self-expression and put it in their home. And so that was a representation of being an athlete in a new space. And listening to the community of those early people that bought those collectibles, they would say, how many basketballs can I collect? Like, I want to take this with me. Like, I want to put this in my closet. And hearing them say that, I would respond by saying, the world doesn't need another t-shirt brand. Like, are you kidding me? Like, the world doesn't need another t-shirt brand. But they were like, try it. And that pulled us into apparel.
Okay, amazing. What is it like working with like big leagues and those type of entities like WNBA, the PA, NFL, things like that? What has that experience been like? Because those are such big systems themselves, and having to step into that and fit your identity, your brand into that. What was that experience like?
So working with teams and leagues for me is actually very, very familiar because the dynamic is they are the licensor and I'm the licensee. And when I was at Hasbro, I was on the other side of it. So we were the licensor of Monopoly, with McDonald's being the licensee as an example. Or we were the licensor of Trivial Pursuit to sports bar owners doing trivia. So I empathize with the position they're in, and I try to make their job easy. They want to know that the brand guidelines are met. They want to know they have enough time for approval. They want to know that you're going to live up to what the contract said. And so I try to basically represent that. So it's been wonderful working with all of the leagues, actually. I've never felt that the creative side of Round21 has been suppressed, truly. Like, I don't know if that will always be the case, but today it hasn't. I feel like they represent what I signed up for too. They're holding up that bargain, which is to give access to the IP to artists, which is them giving a little bit of the control away to artists. And I think by way of the retail environment and seeing the success we've had, they're also seeing that there is a white space here in what is the alternative fashion for sports, which is what Round21 tries to represent.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's very smart that these leagues and, teams have tapped into working with you because, like you said, you know what the consumer want, you know what the fans want. And so when fans and consumers have something that looks cool, it kind of makes them want to go, represent those teams, represent those leagues, and like attend and be a part of it just outside of the sport itself. It's like, no, like you said, like when you were at the convention and the person showed up in the Round21 because they believed in what you did. And so I'm sure for consumers and artists who are, buying your product, they're like, I believe in Round21 because she believes in these artists, she believes in these teams, she believes in, these athletes. And so that full circle connection is really cool to hear.
Not only that, we aren't cannibalizing anybody's sales. I know that for a fact. We are truly expanding the market. People are like, no, I'll get that $35 tee because like my mom wants it or whatever. But then my mom will clean the bathroom in it 3 weeks after the game we go to. I would never clean the bathroom in my Round21s. It's like a funny dynamic. And then, in terms of the positioning, I think there are brands out there that are household names that are all about fashion and sport and selling a $220 leather Knicks jacket. And then there's the $35 entry-level tee. We're intentionally sitting in an aspirational, accessible position where it's a statement piece, but it isn't something that you have to put on layaway to go and get. And so that market opportunity, we feel like, is expanding the opportunities for people to participate with sports beyond the game.
Amazing. I love that. What is it like working with, that difference between working with artists and athletes? Is it similar? Is there a huge difference? Do you guys generally have, athletes or artists reaching out to you wanting to work with you? Or is that something that you guys kind of reach out and do? Or is it just like synergy happens and you all get connected some way and we're like, let's work together, let's create something cool?
I think the synergy is how we got started, for sure. Now it's much more intentional. From an artist perspective, we are always scouting. This is truly from the world of sports. We are scouting artists who have a specific criteria because we know what we're looking for as a brand fit. And as a collective, that artist network needs to represent the diaspora of the community. So in order for us to do that, we have to be scouting. I obviously felt that as a coach. I saw it in practice from a business perspective at Peloton, where all of the instructors were scouted, and it was a very rigorous, like, connection point versus it being like a casting call.
Yeah,
show.
Very intentional.
Very intentional. Like a reality cast for the community to pick which person fits them. It's similar with Round21's artist. From an athlete perspective, that is still a bit of a pull. We're not out there pitching or soliciting athletes to come work with us. The dynamic Round21 has is not a Nike endorsement dynamic. We are not going out to athletes and saying, do you want to work with us as an endorsement relationship? When an athlete comes to us, they typically want to have something to say and know that we are a platform for them to say it versus signing with a big brand where they are a character in that brand's story. So not every athlete has something they want to say. And if they do, they have to recognize that the value that Round21 is giving them is the platform and expressiveness with no restriction, really. We are in talks with a college player right now who qualifies herself as the artist athlete who wants to create a denim line, who wants to do it in her school's bookstore. And I hope we're doing it. Hopefully this is like a sneak preview.
Yeah.
But that athlete has something to say, wants to be in fashion. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
A denim line?
A denim line.
I love that. I love
right?
denim.
She has a point of view and she knows what she wants to do. And when we put that all in formation, magic happens.
Yeah.
Because the artists that we've curated We match make to the right opportunity, and that's very intentional. Not every muralist is right for this project. Not every digital artist is right for that project. So we match make, and then we give them freedom. And it's been wild to see how, like, broad the expression is from the stuff we're doing with the US Open now, really rooted in this idea of inclusivity and love all, to some of the early work that some artists have done around the kind of image of athletes within the NFLPA on a collectible, which is much more black and white and charcoal and rigid. But that's the fun of being a part of the Round21 community, is that it should feel like a gallery, and that you're choosing something that fits what you identify with and however you want to express it.
No, yeah, that's amazing. Just personally, I know a few of the artists that you've worked with. So like, from just like a scale, I know you worked with Shelton Hawkins. You did a basketball with him and his daughter. That was really, really cool. And then recently you've done a few lines with Shima Love. She's in the Hoop York City Buckets and Brunch community. And so that's so cool to like see people that I personally know being able to express themselves through their art and through, you know, Round21, and see them flourish doing it, and seeing your company flourish doing it. And so it's like small world, but it's like, okay, that makes sense. That synergy and that connectivity happening really does make sense. And so I love that. What has been, or I guess what collection or athlete or artist has been like your most favorite to work with, or like the most impactful, you think?
I actually think they're all impactful in their own way. But the WNBA partnership and Shema in 2024, and how she expressed what basketball means to her and this league means to her, definitely is something that put us on the map. And I would never want to take that away from the history books of Round21. In the end, the most powerful thing is every product kind of collected by the fan or the community. They are saying that that is the most special to them, which is a very different dynamic and value exchange, which is really the scale of the platform that we hope to build, so that there isn't just one collection or artist that feels like made the impact, but that the reverse happened, that by having this optionality for the fan, each interaction made an impact on them.
Nice. That's amazing. One thing I have noticed is a lot of the artists that you work with are women of color, you know, minority women. How important is for you to work with women in that realm?
I think the lens we put on sports is to represent. And so the lens we put on which artists will make sense is to represent. And the kind of, I don't want to give too much of the secret sauce of how we curate the artists, but they have to be able to represent, one, a positive story that's very important to Round21, is a sense of positivity and optimism in the work that they already do before they meet Round21. And the work and their kind of organic community, which social media provides a little bit of insight into, has to feel like it's bringing people together. You know, you talk about sports bringing people together. Art does too. Art can also divide. We want artists who, through their art, are bringing people together. That's very important. And Black women, brown men, I mean, we all like have something to offer. We're just looking for it, and I think it is organically happening that we're finding this artist community to be highly representative of all.
Yeah, and you don't see that in a lot of companies. You don't see that at all. You see a sprinkle there, a sprinkle here. Or they work with, you know, a person of color just for, you know, Black History Month or for some cultural moment so that their product can sell. But the fact that you're doing that consistently across the board is really cool to see, and super inspiring. It makes me want to, like, if I ever, you know, get to the point of wanting to be an entrepreneur in that full effect, it's like, okay, I can, you know, have a team and have a presence and have people around who look like me and who come from the same background as me and understand like where I want to take my vision. It's really hard to, you know, see someone's vision when they can't understand you. And so I love that you've been able to create that system for yourself.
I mean, we've gone even on our team, like sometimes just down memory lane a little bit and be like, I found you on LinkedIn. I know.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's how JDS found me. They found me on LinkedIn too. So, and it's been great so far. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
love
you
that.
just never know.
Getting to meet people like you through it.
Yeah, and just keeping our eyes open.
Exactly. No, I love that. So let's talk about how you balance this, Round 21 being this world of performance, but also storytelling. I think you do a great job at storytelling, through your artists, through the athletes that you work with. How do you find that balance?
So I think the world has enough options for what's happening on the court or on the field. And when I think about what we call the new fan, whether that's the right terminology or not, but it does feel like it represents us and who we connect with. We know that because we've done the research, we know that they connect socially through sports. We know that they care about the pop culture side of sports. We know that they want more ways to connect beyond the game. And so those are the things that we spend time thinking about. Performance for us is kind of an afterthought. It's really the plot, the subplots, the headline, the why, and the feeling that we are all co-creating with what's happening on the game, on the field of play or whatever.
Exactly.
And that gives us a tremendous number of storylines to build from. And a lot of it has to do with the emotion of what's happening. And I'll give you an example regarding one of the first athletes we worked with was Brittany Griner. And, Wasserman came to us and gave us that opportunity to work with her. For that, it was the emotion of appreciation. BG wanted to essentially write a love letter to the community for thanking them for helping her come home. And by way of that, she was going to dedicate her platform to bringing more families home.
Amazing.
That tone is very different than New York Liberty won their first trophy. And how are we going to embody that in a way that feels very NYC? But both of those exist at Round 21 because the stories of both resonate and provide a sense of emotion.
Yeah. I love that. No, yeah. That was definitely one of the first, the Brittany Griner collection that you all did. That was one of the first that I actually bought.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to look you up in our Shopify.
Yeah,
I'm going to see you.
Yeah, for sure. Look me up. I need to get some of the newer things. But yeah, that was one of the first products that I bought just as, an adult. I have money now.
Yeah.
That I have to rely on my parents anymore. But that I was like, okay, this story was amazing, and now I want to buy to support because I felt it. I felt like she was saying thank you to, the people back at home who brought her home and how that completely changed her life and her identity and what she represents now and how she goes about the world. So I love that you guys were able to create that connectivity and have her, allow her to have that platform. Like you said, Round 21 is being that platform for those athletes where they can't really do that themselves sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, so much of sports is what happened during the game, or around the game even, or with the athlete, and we just intentionally and now unconsciously ask why and how did it make us feel, and that really is the jumping off point for the creative.
I love that. No, that's amazing. What was it like for just, that Brittany Griner story, that storytelling? It had to have been heavy for you and your team to really be like, we're the ones putting this out. We're the ones helping her tell that story. What was that kind of emotion like?
Oh, I mean, and Shema was the artist for that too. That's how we actually first got in touch. And shout out to Lacey Jordan for giving Shema that opportunity, which, is also part of Round 21's artist connectivity, is the artists are giving each other chances and stuff. It's just really cool. It was clarity of the athlete to know what needs to be said. That was very important. So it wasn't a huge burden of functionally she's back from Russia. What do we do here? We asked, what does she want to say? And, Lindsay at Wasserman was like, we know what she wants to say. She wants it to be this. Creatively, we wanted to make sure we lived up to that. And there was a risk there, which was the handwritten letter of BG was contained in a faceless kind of portrait by Shema of BG. Yeah. And that was a risk to share back to her. And the risk was, Shema's art at the time, she owned this faceless kind of caricature silhouette. For her and her community, very famously, she's done a lot of this with people in pop culture, Lauryn Hill, and other figures that inspire her. And BG couldn't articulate why that was so fitting. The way I would say I think it was because the intention was that this was a love letter and not about BG, but that she was embodying that now she was one of us. Bring our families home, and this idea of we are BG, now she was on the side of all the people in America who want to bring other Americans home wrongfully detained. And by making her silhouette faceless, she was becoming a part of the community.
Yeah.
I mean, she could never have briefed that, but Shema took a risk by using her own artistry to kind of contain the letter.
Yeah.
And it all worked. And I think part of it is maintaining the artist's natural creative expression, which is a part of that matchmaking that I mentioned early on. That's very important. That gets us to a good place. When you put the artist who maybe does something completely different or has a different vibe in a position where they have to embody a different vibe, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. No, exactly. I completely understand that. Working in the creative agency space, there's so many moments where we're coming to clients with creatives and ideas, and when those moments happen where it just connects instantly, it's like, okay, this was meant to be. We were meant to create this story and tell this story for you. And so for Shema to have that opportunity to do that for Brittany Griner, I love that. I love that connectivity was able to happen like instantly, and there was a fear of it not working, but the fact that it did, I love that.
And for me as Round21's founder, I feel so proud. BG will always be able to say, that was my love letter to the community, and Shema will always be able to say, I was a part of that, and that's my art, and we were the platform.
Yeah.
That's really when we shine the most. It's like, we're the platform. We're actually like the third footnote. It's really about the people first.
Speaking of the people, I've seen recently that, just through us being on the panel earlier this year for Peace Players Girl Summit, and then just Round21 doing things for the community, how has that been? What has that been like to step into that light and putting, really being in the fan and the consumer space from a community standpoint?
Oh, it's been amazing, because this idea that without you there is no us is true, but also will fall short if we're not listening and observing. And so there's no greater opportunity than to just be there. I'm getting a lot of Instagram flack right now from friends and family who are like, you're on another train, you're on another plane. Well, we're in it right now. I mean, this year has been bananas for us in all the best ways, but unless we're getting on that train or getting on that plane, we're not going to really feel the impact. And it's that listening and observing that actually fuels the next thing we do. That's very important to our kind of virtuous cycle. We tend to start from a position of an insight, give the artist that insight and the opportunity, build something fans hopefully want, and then when they want it, we witness how it's resonating and gaining more insights. And that's kind of that's the flywheel of what we've been doing, and it applies to every sport on the planet, and it certainly applies to every fan, because we are all a fan of something. We really are all a fan of something, even if it's dogs or it's Taylor Swift or Beyonce. And so being able to capture the insight and then bring it through product and experience and have it continue to build is our network effect.
I love that. No, yeah, to see you as a CEO and see how connected you really are, hands-on the ground, moving, shaking, literally handing out shirts, talking
and folding
shirts. Yes, you're really talking to the consumers. It's very cool to see. And I remember on our panel in LA, to see how tapped in the girls were into what you were saying about where you started your entrepreneurship and how they can start that now. They're kind of they were shocked. They were like, I can start that now. And it's like, yes, you can.
Your co-founders in this room, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's so cool that you as a CEO, you're on the ground, you're hands on. I love that. Okay, tell us, Jasmine, does Round21 have any drops, collections, project activations coming up?
We do. So we talk at Round21 about how every product is the beginning of the next. And so we are getting ready for a very big launch September 27th. This is the first time we will be doing something like this, where we're bringing in a multi-hyphenate creator from Hollywood to the table. This person is the new prototype of what it means to be actor, producer, director, and she wants the opportunity to be in fashion, and we're proud to be the platform helping her do that. And we're doing it with a new WNBA collection.
Nice.
Going right into the playoffs. And so, yeah, stay tuned. But we do have something coming.
I love that. It's dropping on my birthday, too. So I'll definitely have my eyes out. Thank you.
Maybe you get a gift. Maybe.
Yeah,
there
we'll see. I'll make a purchase. You don't have to. I want to add to the cause.
You do support.
Add to the funds. My last question for you is, what advice would you give to someone who, grew up playing sports, got to the highest level they could play, but now they're at this intersection of, okay, what do I do now? What does my identity look like now?
I think the identity of who you are does take shape in different eras of growth. So I think identity as a player could go away. I definitely know a lot of people who've decided, after they stop playing football, they're done or whatever. I would say consider how you are building your next network and don't shy away from it being tied to your athletic identity. I think there's a lot of code switching that we all do regarding, I now have to tuck my shirt in or wear a pencil skirt and go to work. The reality is how we build our network as athletes was different and can continue to be how we build our network as we mature out of that phase of our life. The business side of becoming, who you are if you were an athlete has tremendous upside because of the discipline, the leadership skills, the teamwork. We all know that. I mean, that's been documented. But I think it's even more valued today because of generational shifts in attention span and certainly just generational differences. And so as an athlete, being able to step into a new role and staying true to, okay, I used to get to practice on time, but knowing that was 5 minutes early. I used to, take a hard loss, but know that the next opportunity is coming. All of those things intentionally and consciously are skills to go into the workforce. And so not shying away from being proud of that and even in interviews speaking to that because it is transferable for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I love that. I mean, I know where I'm going, but still taking notes. I love that. Okay, bonus question.
Yes.
I know I said that was the last question, but bonus question. Next 5 years, where do you see Round21?
The platform that we have built becoming a more persistent platform. I really believe if Round21 continues on the journey that we're going, there should be a spirit of collaboration culture that the people are building. Like if Jasmine, the CEO, was to be taken away, Round21 could still exist. And that would be a dream because that would mean that I have created a legacy of making standing out the new standard in sport. It would mean that there are more people connecting beyond the game, using sports as this incredible vehicle that brings people together. And I mean together, like in a era right now where we need more togetherness. Sports does that, but now doing it beyond the game is like we're even getting more connectivity. And then this identity of who I am being celebrated throughout my, sense of connection through sport versus feeling like we're all wearing the same jersey.
Yeah.
That feeling of the platform is now self-sustaining, feels like the path that we're on. And there's something about this year that has solidified that for me.
That's amazing. I love that, Jasmine. Earlier you mentioned that without you, there is no us. You're talking about the consumer. I'm guessing that's one of your mantras for Round21. Do you have any other ones?
There's actually a line from a Killers song that I think about all the time, and it's background vocals. I don't know how many people hear it, but it's time, truth, heart.
Okay.
And there's something about that is so important to anybody's journey through anything difficult because you need the time, which is hard. You can't fabricate time. You sometimes just need the time to get through it. Truth, you need to actually be doing the thing that can help you overcome it. And heart is you have to be giving it 100%. And I think as an entrepreneur, a founder, even somebody maybe going through a hard time, an illness, time, truth, heart is required to get through or impact beyond where you are today. And so I do call on that a lot. And I challenge myself like, time, have I given this enough time? Truth, are we really doing what we said we would do? And heart, are we really giving all we can? And it reminds me, and that actually keeps us true to those things as well. And I think that's part of how we've continued to sustain with so many different pivots and, you know, adaptations to Round 21. We've never shied away from just truth, hard, and then having the time to really see it through.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm going to get that tattooed. That's a really good one.
It is really good, right?
It's very good, very good. Obviously, we see women's basketball is at the forefront of everything, and you having the partnership with the WNBA, how important is it for you to be a part of this movement and continue to push these athletes and these artists forward in that?
I don't think I could have sketched a blueprint that would have resulted in where we are today. I would not have had that foresight or ability. But to me, the WNBA and the impact being part of this era, plus the support that the W and the PA have given Round 21, has definitely changed the trajectory of where we're going. And the fact that I played overseas, and so many of the players, obviously now with the CBA, there's opportunity for this not to be the case, but they played overseas, and to have that empathy for what they did, and then they come back home, etc., has just given me an incredible insight into how we can continue to build, hopefully in a small way, their brands as players with the fan, and also monetize what we are doing, because the players get a percentage of everything Round 21 does with players, and obviously the league gets their percentage. So there is this sense of like, when we sell one t-shirt, it's actually supporting back the WNBA's growth in our small way. And so that has been very important to what we're doing. And this year and last year, I even said this in a recent investor update, like WNBA is our core. It's not just a category. And I don't see us changing that for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, because WNBA is only going to continue to grow. And so to be a part of that is very, very, very cool to see. And I'm excited to see where that goes.
Me too.
Nice, amazing. Earlier, you were mentioning a little bit about NFTs. So how do you see, AI in art, changing this industry or adding to it? Does that, scare you, or do you see it as a positive thing?
I think, technological advances feel like they are becoming faster and more advanced every 6 months. And so Round 21 has always been attempting to be at the forefront or with that change, because that's going to help us continue to stay of the times and be a brand that benefits from those advances. With AI, Round 21 is taking advantage of it from a back-end perspective, optimizations, workflows, automations, because that's going to help us build the platform at scale. As of today, we've made a definitive decision not to use AI to create art. We do not feel like the representation and the value of the artist and the living human that has made the art is transferable through technology. We are proud that every product has the touch of an individual, a human. It is human made. And we think that the community of fans that believe in what Round 21 is all about, and the mission and being a part of something bigger than themselves, value that as well. So we don't want to erode that at all. And we actually believe it's a better product in the end.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you're taking that stance on using AI for, that back end, that, that more admin, that making things organized, making that side of your life easier, whereas you want to stay true to that artist and that art that goes out into the world and being a part of the culture in that way. I love that. That's amazing. Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of Round 21. I'm proud of, seeing a woman of color continue to push women's basketball forward, to continue to push sports forward, art forward, culture forward. So I thank you for joining me today. And yeah, I'm so excited to see where those next 5 years will lead you all.
Thank you. And I hope you're a part of it.
Yes, would love to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.